Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Randy, and this is a contest. It's a contest entry for Steve at A is for Alice, B is for Bob, C is for Coleman Hawkins, but it is all about jazz. And the whole contest started because Steve bought a Miles Davis, John Coltrane box set, and I don't know which period it was of their music, because if it was later hard bop, I can see where Steve couldn't get into that, because some of their more out there stuff I'm not really that into either. But the whole contest was called "Does Jazz Suck?", which was a pretty contentious name for for a contest. And obviously, jazz doesn't suck. Some people love it, some people. It's not my go-to genre, but I do like some jazz, mostly traditional, I guess you would call it. Like I said, some of the hard bop, when it goes too far out there, I'm not really into. Someone like Ornette Coleman, I probably wouldn't get into. And some of Coltrane's, farther afield stuff too. But anyway, but I do like and enjoy jazz when I'm in the mood, or, when sometimes I just want to hear some jazz. And so I was going to show kind of my jazz journey and 5 records to check out that I recommend. So this is Steve's contest entry, and here we go. Now, the first album purchase I ever had was technically a jazz purchase. It was Herb Alpert's, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, it was, it's kind of Latin jazz, as you know, Herb Alpert. But I'm going to go in a more traditional vein. The first kind of jazz artist that I got into was Mose Allison. Actually, it was a hits collection that was my first purchase by him. This is Wild Man on the Loose. But he's a jazz pianist, inventive, often humorous lyrics. Of course, the Who did Live at Leeds, Young Man Blues. Van Morrison's covered several of his songs. He also did a whole album of his music. But yeah, Mose Allison, Wild Man on the Loose, also does some singing as well, and mostly does singing on his albums. The second jazz artist I kind of got into was more by accident than anything, because I bought this CD, Chet Baker, Let's Get Lost, which was actually music from a documentary film about him. And there he is when he was younger, and I really liked it. At the time when I bought it, I think I thought it was more of a blues or R&B kind of thing, which it wasn't. But then I really did enjoy it. Then I bought a couple other CDs of his. This is during my CD buying phase. And he's kind of called the Prince of Cool, great jazz trumpeter. And then later on, I got this Tone Poet, which was his debut album as a vocalist. Nice Tone Poet there, some nice pictures. It was originally on the Pacific Jazz label. This also has Russ Freeman on piano, Carson Smith on bass, Bob Neal on drums. Also on another session, it's got James Bond on bass, different James Bond, Peter Littman on drums, and also on another session, Lawrence Marabelle on drums. But yeah, Chet Baker, really fine album. Chet Baker Sings. Next, about Jackie McLean. This is another Tone Poet. Really some nice pictures. You've got Charles Tolliver on trumpet there. Roy Haynes on drums. Cecil McBee on bass. There's Jackie McLean there, and then Charles Tolliver on trumpet, and Herbie Hancock on keys. But yeah, this is probably as far as I go on the hard bop, is this Jackie McLean album. His sax playing on here is a little more bluesy, but yeah, I'm not really into too much of a hard bop, or I'm not into jazz fusion really at all. He's called post bop and free jazz. Like I said, this is probably as far as I go in that kind of area. But I do enjoy that Jackie McLean album. And then I've got Donald Byrd, Bird in Flight. This album came out originally in 1960. This is the Tone Poet reissue. It always has really nice pictures in there, sessions. Of course, this one had Donald Byrd and Jackie McLean on alto sax. It had Hank Mobley here on tenor sax. Duke Pearson on keys. Les Humphreys on drums. Doug Hawkins on bass. And then Reginald Workman also played bass on one of the sessions. But yeah, Donald Byrd, Bird in Flight. It's called hard bop, but to me it's more traditional sounding. And this is probably one of my favorite jazz listening albums right here, Bird in Flight, Donald Byrd. And lastly, how about Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, Moanin'. This was on the cheap Wax Time label, which I didn't know much about at the time, but I guess their quality really varies. This one isn't too bad. Of course, he's a jazz drummer. This album originally came out in 1959. He led a group known as the Jazz Messengers, and many famous musicians went through the group. But Moanin' is really the title track is one to really listen to. It's called an essential hard bop album, but yeah. I really like this one though. And then that's my entry into his contest. Like I said, it's kind of got a controversial title. Jazz Doesn't Suck. I mean, there's a lot of jazz players that even played in, on rock albums. Of course, Van Morrison used jazz artists a lot. So did Steely Dan and many other people. So anyway, that's my entry into the contest. Hope everyone else does it as well, and thanks.